Arnold Schwarzenegger, 7-time Mr. Olympia champion, and undoubtedly the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Recently slammed bodybuilding in a passionate speech. He said, "I think that the squad of bodybuilding is in the crossroads. I think that the square bodybuilding could go through the roof and accepted by the general public in a huge way and become part of the Olympics, become an Olympic sport, and be on television and be on everything, or it regresses." When Arnold, who has done more for the world of bodybuilding than anyone else on the planet, speaks passionately about the future of the sport, we pay attention. So why is Arnold turning on his own? Why would he criticize his fellow bodybuilders like this? Has he become so engrossed in his own success that he's forgotten his roots and love for bodybuilding? Is he jealous of the new breed of bodybuilders taking the cheers and adulation that were once his? Far from it. Arnold believes that the sport of bodybuilding is at a crossroads. He thinks that bodybuilding could go through the roof, become accepted by the general public in a huge way, and even become an Olympic sport, or it could regress. Arnold wasn't great for bodybuilding simply because he had an amazing physique or held top titles for so long. He pretty much owned an entire decade single-handedly. No, he was great for bodybuilding because he made it mainstream. Before Arnold, bodybuilding was just a freak show. It wasn't widely accepted and was completely misunderstood. Bodybuilding was relegated to dark, dank dungeons, basements, and people's garages. The public thought gyms were just hangout places where semi-clad, sweaty men grunted and groaned while flexing their bulging muscles to the mirrors as they lifted weights. Arnold changed all that. He showed America and the whole world a different image of gyms and bodybuilding. He was intelligent, charismatic, witty, funny, and dedicated. It wasn't just his physique that was larger than life, his personality was too. This was just what bodybuilding needed. His appearance in the movie documentary Pumping Iron catapulted bodybuilding into the accepted, normal mainstream. But Arnold's contribution to bodybuilding is under threat. Bodybuilding is again becoming a dirty word. There is a social stigma associated with the word bodybuilding. People now think of bodybuilding as a world of steroid use, drug-induced, ridiculously muscle-bound behemoths with a narcissistic swagger and tiny little trunks. Now, don't get us wrong, there's a lot to admire in these guys and girls. They are incredibly dedicated, focused, hardworking, and intelligent. Even their pure muscularity is, in itself, amazing, especially to those of us who actually understand that despite the drugs, they have to work their asses off and are genetically gifted. But the current breed of bodybuilders just don't inspire normal people to be like them. They are just mass monsters, huge beyond all proportions, freaks. We think it's fair to say that the majority of the populace doesn't consider this look at all attractive or appealing. Bodybuilding used to place great emphasis on symmetry as well as pure muscularity. But somewhere along the way, bodybuilders slowly got judged more on being massive than proportionate. Plus, the pure amount of drugs being used now creates huge, bloated, and ridiculously protruding stomachs. It's funny when you look at all the images of these massively distended stomachs to think the sport let this happen. In our humble opinion, we believe that bodybuilding should emphasize amazing physiques that are almost without flaw, and we can see a pretty big flaw here. Back in Schwarzenegger's day, the 1970s and before, bodybuilders looked great. They had great physiques, muscular, powerful, athletic, and proportionate. They made the human body look beautiful, like a piece of art, a sculpture of the perfect human body. As Arnold put it, I ask myself always the question as a judge, whose body do I want to have? That's what it comes down to. This is exactly the reason I don't follow professional bodybuilding. Even if I could, I wouldn't want to have the body of a modern pro bodybuilder. They seem grotesque and disproportionate. The bodybuilders in the professional sport of bodybuilding have gone the next step, but now, just as people got used to buying in that this is a beautiful body, where all of a sudden the body does not look as acceptable. Arnold says the current breed of bodybuilders lacks the talent, the posing, the dynamics, the great looks, and the choreographed routines that make bodybuilding entertaining and sellable on television. He asks us to consider which of the following bodies do you consider to look more beautiful and athletic? For us, it's a no-brainer. We take the body of a 1970s bodybuilder like Frank Zane any day of the week. They just look better. Sure, they used steroids back then, but they still looked right. As Arnold says, it doesn't look right anymore. This is unacceptable the way bodybuilding is going. We don't want to see the biggest man up there, we want to see the most beautiful man, the most athletic man on stage. Hallelujah. But when you have guys come out one after the next who barely can get their breath together with their stomachs hanging out, hitting a pose, and having disproportionate body parts, the proportion is gone. In the old days, in order to be a champion, you always had to bring something else to the table. Arnold also mentions the vacuum pose and how none of the current bodybuilders can stand up on stage and pull in their stomachs, put their shoulders out, and look athletic. Imagine the drama this would and should cause if the current lineup of bodybuilders had to hold this as a mandatory pose. Frank Zane and all the old top-level bodybuilders could do it back in the 1970s. Arnold has rightfully called out the bodybuilding judges to judge all of the body and change the judging procedure. The judges need to consider everything, not just who has the thickest neck and the biggest muscles. It's as much about the aesthetics, the symmetry, and the beauty of the human body that needs to be encouraged and promoted. In Arnold's words, we need to make sure that we are rewarding the right guys, because if you reward the right guys, then everyone will start training to have a beautiful body again rather than a powerlifting body. Arnold went further, encouraging public action in fitness magazines, the internet, and any forum or media possible to call out these guys to create change. Then bodybuilding will go through the roof and become unstoppable. The selling of magazines, food supplements, and all the stuff associated with bodybuilding will skyrocket. Ultimately, it will come down to pressuring and forcing a change in the currently flawed judging process. Judges need to set guidelines that reward the physiques the community wants to see. If the guys with the big, distended stomachs and disproportionately shaped bodies stop placing in the top 10, they will quickly need to get their acts together. Bodybuilding can get back to displaying visually striking, appealing, and awe-inspiring bodies again. Listening to Arnold talk, you can hear the passion and power of conviction he has on the subject. It's his legacy at stake, and even after all these years, he is still a champion for bodybuilding and all the things it stands for. That's all for today's video, folks. If you enjoyed this discussion on Arnold Schwarzenegger's take on the future of bodybuilding, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Aesthetics 71. We'll see you next time with more insights and stories from the world of bodybuilding.